My name's Steve Beswick, and I'm the Business Development Director for the education industry inside Microsoft UK. And this webinar today is for Westcoast and you, the resellers, listening to this, and hopefully by listening to it, you'll get a better idea of how to sell the Surface technology to the education market. The agenda for today is very simple. First of all, I want to go through some of Microsoft's strategies and some context around the education sector. I'll obviously go through the device lineup that we've now got in the UK around Surface, and then hopefully some hints and tricks, if you like, for selling the Surface into education with the experience that I've got. Previously to doing this role, I ran the education business in the UK for 10 years, so I've got a lot of experience of how Microsoft sells into that marketplace. So hopefully you can learn from this and take that away out to your customers to sell more Microsoft product and specifically Surface. So strategy and the educational context. I think it's first really important to understand that Microsoft as a company have been investing in education for many, many years, going back to the Bill Gates era and the Steve Ballmer era. You know, Microsoft, through discounting our software products, etc., have been investing. This is not a market that we go in and out of, depending on the market conditions. We are deeply committed to it as a company, and that's important for you to understand, and important for your customers, the education customers that you serve, to understand as well. And it's also important that, you know, we're in a fairly new era now where over the last few years, as you'll be aware, Satya Nadella has taken over as the CEO of Microsoft worldwide, and he certainly challenges us as individuals within the company and everybody working in Microsoft around the education sector, how important learning is. And so, if you like, the bar is now has risen, if you like, in the context of our investments into education on a worldwide basis from Microsoft. So that's really important to understand as well. When we look at what Microsoft's vision is as a company outside of education, it's very simple. It's to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And the context around that for education is quite simple to understand in the context of that vision that we go to. And very simply, what we're trying to do as a company on a worldwide basis is to empower every student on the planet to achieve more. Achieving more might be very different depending on what country you're in, whether you're 5-year-old, whether you're 18-year-old, whether you're somebody who goes to get educated later on in life. And to that extent, that's why this vision is pretty open. But ultimately, that's what we're trying to achieve, to enable every student on the planet to achieve more. And in doing so, we look at this through the lens of a transformation framework about how that vision is delivered. And for those of you working in education, this won't come as too much of a surprise in terms of the areas that we're focused in. But if you look at the 4 boxes in front of you, it is all about how do we use technology to engage students? How do we use that to help narrow the achievement gap between those that are good and those that are less good, if you like, when they're at school? How do we improve social mobility by engaging students with technology? And ultimately, obviously, how do we improve learning outcomes? On the other side, clearly, it's important to empower teachers and the faculty staff potentially within the university. How can we tackle the workload, the marking schemes, the very high amount of work that even the teacher has to do outside of teaching? How do we get the training better? And ultimately, how does the school or the university as an entity run better through using IT? And ultimately, that has to be underpinned by optimizing the school and the university with really good IT, making sure wireless connectivity is there, and really making sure that our customers and your customers are taking advantage of the cloud technology, which is available from Microsoft in many areas free of charge. So there's lots of ways in which a school can optimize their infrastructure through using the cloud. And ultimately that leads to accelerating learning. You know, how can we put all of those 3 areas and boxes together to engage students, empower teachers, optimize the school, and really accelerate learning again, bridging those social divides, if you like, that are out there today, and improving learning as a result. And this is just another slide which kind of puts it in a similar way, but making sure people are aware that, you know, hardware and Windows 10 specifically is really, really important as people go along that transformation journey in education. So here you see some of the hardware technology that I'll be going through later on, but clearly the message here is Windows 10 is really important as people go through that transformation journey. And not all our customers are there yet. Some of them are on Windows 7, some of them may be on Windows 8, but Windows 10 is the device, is the product, if you like, that's going to drive this transformation journey. And that transformation journey is underpinned by a lot of technology, and I'm not going to go through all of it today, but it's important to understand from a Microsoft perspective where our investments are going. All of those 4 transformation areas are underpinned by technologies in the cloud, and I think, as people know, we're building a lot of cloud-based technologies, whether that's 365 or Azure. We're doing a lot of focus from a research and development point of view about reinventing productivity and business processes through our investments in products like Office and Microsoft CRM. And clearly, we're doing a lot of investment in the personal computing space as well, which obviously is where the Surface family is. It's where the Windows family sits as well. And clearly, this, in terms of the research and development and the technology that underpins everything that we do to drive that digital transformation. And clearly, we use that digital transformation framework not just for education, but also for customers as well. How do they engage better with their customers? How do they empower their employees to drive better outcomes for their company? So in a similar way, we are modifying that framework for education, but understand from Microsoft that we are very much pushing and driving how companies, as well as education establishments, transform their businesses and transform their learning and teaching. And clearly a transformational way of working, you know, leads to a transformational way of teaching and learning. If you look at the marketplace today, yes, there's a lot of differences between education and a working environment, but ultimately they can take advantage of the same transformational opportunities that are out there to transform the business, but also to transform the way people teach and learn. And the context here is around, you know, looking outside and what's going on in the outside world today with technology. And the emphasis on this slide is all around mobility. Mobility is really important, whether you're working in a company or whether you're in education. You know, people interact with data, they have devices, and if you look at the data points here, you know, less than 25% of people do their best thinking exclusively in the office. So where do students do their thinking? On the bus, at home, clearly at school, but how do we capture that in a mobile environment? Data, you know, over 50% of people will be using that tablet device or smartphone device as they first go online. How can we use those devices to capture things, whether they're at school or not at school? And clearly, as we all know, there's a lot of smart technology out there in the mobile space with smartphones. So this is the world that we're in today, and this is the world that our children or our higher level students are going to educational establishments. And really the question to pose is, you know, making sure that, in our view, mobility is front and center as we speak and you speak to your customers. So using that theme, how do we really think about how do we spend our time? And I suppose, you know, a few years ago, people sliced up their work time, if you like, and their life in the following way by a whole set of activities, if you like, that were time bound. You had a certain amount of time to do them in, etc. But I think people will understand that the reality is, in what really happens today in an online world, is that rather than having these big time slices for sharing, for researching, for being at work, you know, or being at school, things happen all around because of the nature of us being in a connected world and the ability to do things whether we're at work, whether we're with the family, in a multidisciplinary way. And again, this is just providing context for the education environment, whether people are going to school or people are at university. This is the kind of way in which people slice up their time and do work. And the question here is for your customers, have they got the right strategy in place for the things that are externally influencing what goes on at school, and how importantly can teachers, university heads, really embrace what's going on in the world today to improve learning outcomes, provide better skills for their students, and overall helping their students to achieve more. And again, on the mobility theme, Microsoft is no different, and I wanted to use this as an example of ourselves. For those of you that don't know us, we're based in Reading. We have offices in London and up in Edinburgh as well, but our main base, as you can see in front of you, is here. And you can see there 5 big buildings. We started off with 3, we moved to 4 and 5, and right at the bottom of the page you can see a kind of big car park, and that's actually the land that we bought ready to build Building 6. But the reality is we don't need to build it, because the technology has come on leaps and bounds since we built Building 5 probably 8-10 years ago, to the extent where we've got a lot of people working at home, we've got a lot of people doing distance work internationally as well. And to that end, that's why mobility matters to us all, whether you're a university, a school, or even in the IT industry ourselves, to the extent where we can save a lot of money by not building a new building and using the technology. And I'll come on to that theme later on as you go into universities and challenge them in terms of how they work, and to that extent, whether they need all the new buildings that are going up as we see campuses grow today. So I'm just providing that context, not because it's education specific, but because I think it's important in the context of what you talk to your customers about. And why Microsoft devices? Hopefully all these slides you can use as a way of showing and demonstrating an understanding of the education sector, but ultimately to show why Microsoft and Microsoft devices specifically. And to that end, you can see here, we firmly believe that an integrated solution is important, integrating the hardware of the device with the software Windows 10, with the cloud services, Skype, Office 365, Azure, and all the wealth of applications that are available from Windows, if you like, in terms of the use of those devices. So the whole theme of this slide is really to talk about how it's integrated rather than a device being seen on its own. And many of our customers in universities and schools are very interested, because of their investments in Microsoft. They want to invest in the device itself, so they've got that no compromise environment with Office 365 by purchasing devices from us as well, or certainly Windows 10 devices. And as you know, with our devices, it can be a laptop, it can be a clipboard, it can be a canvas because of the pen technology that we've got. And when you look at what's in your bag, whether that's a school bag, a teacher, whether that's a faculty person, you've really got to look at it in the context of all of these different things. Some people have multiple phones, they've probably got a tablet, they may have a PC as well, some paper, a whole load of files, and some wires as well. And essentially that's kind of the environment we see in a lot of companies and certainly a lot of schools today. And our view is that really, this is the solution, if you like, a very high quality Windows 10 device in the form of a Surface and a mobile phone. There's a Windows phone here, but clearly that can be any mobile phone, an Android or an iPhone, and it's really everything that people need. So a really good value proposition is, to a teacher certainly, that the Surface is both a laptop and a device that can run their business as well, in the context of whether they're using line of business applications at the school, or they can turn it into a tablet device as they teach, all in one device. And this really summarizes why we think mobility is important, why we believe that smart connected devices are important in an education world. The important thing about that is, as I said earlier on, about integrated innovation to make sure the device is secure, well managed, and we have lots of technology that can do that as well. And that users love, and I'll come back to that again later in the presentation. So let's go through the device lineup. I think before I do that, I just wanted to show this slide, really to get across the message that Microsoft's been investing in devices for quite a long time now. You can see here the family of Surface products that have come out. I'll go through the latest. But essentially, I wanted you to understand that the deep investment Microsoft is making in this space. And albeit, I think a lot of our devices have come to the fore in the last few years. You know, we did start off way back in October 2012, and as you can see here, a history of a lot of Surface devices coming out. So the new Surface Pro, I haven't got time to go through all the details of every device, but I just wanted to highlight, you know, the specifics. This ultimately will replace the Pro 4 that you see today, and we're selling these now. So the key point about this device is it's uncompromising mobility in the way that it works, but more importantly, or as importantly, the battery life. So we had feedback around the Surface Pro 4 on battery life. This will run up to 13 hours of video playback, which to a school is really important in the context of how often they have to recharge the battery. And so with some technology innovation within the device and within the chassis, we've made the battery bigger and up to 50% longer than the previous Surface. So this is the device that we're positioning for faculty and staff, teachers in the education sector today. And as you can see, the actual kickstand moves down a lot further now to a lot nicer angle, if you like, for people to use the pen in that kind of tablet mode. And what I'm going to do now is just show you a quick video of one of our customers. This is somebody that's, this is our customer, University of Central Lancashire. And although it talks about Surface Pro 4 and not Surface Pro, it does get across a lot of the messages that I'd like you to take to your customers and see if we can jointly together create more customers like Central Lancashire.
I'm James Crooks. I'm the Deputy Director of Learning and Information Services here at the University of Central Lancashire.
My name's Carol Wallace and I'm Professor of Food Safety Management.
My name's Jim Richards. I'm Professor of Biomechanics.
My name's Robert Kasha. I'm Senior Lecturer in Japanese.
I'm Andy Ginty. I'm the Phase 1 Lead for Medicine.
Academic practice is a really exciting point in which technology and digital technology can be embedded more so than ever in the teaching and learning experience.
So I travel a lot for my work. I spend quite a lot of time on trains and planes and so on, as well as working remotely. So the Surface has really made life a lot easier because I can interact with my students wherever I've got Wi-Fi available. I really like also the fact that there's the Surface Pen, gives me flexibility working as well when I'm traveling.
We've recently started using the Surface Pro, both here in the lab, where what we're doing is collecting live data and then live streaming the data straight to the Surface Pro from our camera systems. What this allows us to do is work directly with patients to then help them improve their movement controls.
Yeah, so there are two basic ways I'm using the Surface Pro. One is during in-class teaching, so when I use it to organize the teaching around some visual material that I'm showing to students, and out-of-class teaching, which is more about preparing for class and giving feedback to students. Sometimes this involves annotating dissertations or annotating written work and coursework that I receive from students.
We're using the Surface Pro 4 in classes in lots of different ways. One of the ways is for the staff themselves to deliver content. So we're looking at giving presentations. With the students, we're giving them the Surface Pros. They get the lecture content, but they're also drawing content from lots of other sources. So that might be off the internet, it might be pictures and illustrations that we provide. And we're asking the students to really build a compilation of the information that they need.
Our academic staff across the organisation are finding new and innovative ways to embed technology and Microsoft Surface into their teaching and learning, and the students are really seeing great benefits from that in terms of success and experience.
I suppose the best thing about my job is teaching itself. It's interacting with lots of different students.
For us, it's all about making a difference in terms of food safety and protecting public health.
The best thing about my job is the variation that I see.
I really enjoy being this kind of person, so we're constant travelers, I think, across languages and cultures.
The next product is the Surface Book. So this is the very high-end device in the laptop area. It's detachable in the context of it is actually a two-in-one. And to that end, as you can see here, a very long battery life. And if people are looking for uncompromising performance with graphics chips and also battery life, then this is the product for them. The mainstay of our product range into universities and schools will be the Surface Pro, but we are seeing a lot of interest and shipping quite a lot of these devices into universities who really want the power of the i7 chip with the graphics performance as well. The next product is a new product introduced into the UK again in the last couple of months, and this is where I see opportunity for you resellers, especially in the higher education market. The SurfaceStudio is an all-in-one device, as you can see here. It's got a 28-inch 4K screen, and as you can see on the diagram here, very much an all-in-one. So the base unit you can see there has all the power, has the CPU, has all the drives and disks, etc. And so it looks absolutely fantastic in the context of a minimal type design. And as you can see on the right-hand side, it pushes down onto a sort of 20-degree angle, which drives a lot of kind of creative work that people in universities may want to do. So I think a great opportunity for you, our resellers, to go out and sell what is a very new product into the higher education space for those people that want this type of design, this type of screen resolution, especially in those creative areas. As you can see here, these are the data points on the screen itself. Very, very high resolution, very high end, and again, a great product we feel for higher education. Again, some more data points on the device itself. You'll see on there a new product that we've got, not just the pen, but the Surface Dial. And here's some interesting points about the dial, which in my view really sets it aside from any of our competition. This is a new input device in the context of using the dial. You know, you can use it with Windows to do things like undo, redo, and now there are applications being built specifically using the dial because there is an API set for the dial. It Bluetooths into the Surface Studio device and is customizable, etc. And we've got a lot of ISVs looking at this and building applications using the dial as well. So the idea would be you have the dial in your left hand, you have the pen in your right hand, and you can be creative with your ideas, with creative ways of doing things at university. Even now, some of the private schools that we're dealing with certainly are very interested in this technology, especially in their technology areas where historically they may have put Apple devices. So the dial is definitely a really interesting device and a differentiator for us in this sector. And here's the video that shows a little bit more about the SurfaceStudio.
SurfaceStudio is a whole new category of device, and it was really created for the creative process that largely starts with ideation. When people are forming thoughts, putting them into parameters that people can understand, visualizing them, and then communicating it out. Largely, this process still happens with pen and paper today on notebooks, whiteboards, etc. SurfaceStudio was created to enable that whole process, the ideation, the documentation or the creation, and the communication entirely within a single device and all in a digital format. Well, I love SurfaceStudio because it looks beautiful on your desk. It has this minimal and modern design, and it's a really small footprint considering all of the tech that we fit into the base. I mean, even the power supply is in there. Surface products are known for their incredible screens, and this is a 28-inch PixelSense display, and it's an awesome canvas to work on. It's incredibly thin, just 12.5 millimeters thick, and SurfaceStudio is the first desktop computer with both pen and touch. And it allows you to move really effortlessly between those two modes, from drawing or marking up a design, up to typing or hopping on a Skype call. So really nothing gets in your way. The arms themselves have 80 custom parts each, which make what we like to call a zero gravity hinge. All I need is a single finger to move it from upright mode into studio mode, and there it is at the 20-degree angle, ready for me to draw on it. SurfaceStudio is the most powerful device Microsoft has ever built. With Intel Core processors accelerated by a discrete NVIDIA GeForce GPU, SurfaceStudio is up for anything. The i7 SKU can be configured with up to 32 gigs of RAM and a 2 terabyte rapid hybrid drive, making it the perfect device for running professional-grade software like SolidWorks, Adobe, and Autodesk. Well, when you're ready to get to work, you'll enjoy that SurfaceStudio is tuned perfectly for Windows and Office. The screen has a 3:2 aspect ratio, which is equal to 4 14-inch screens stitched together on a 28-inch display, and it allows you to pen 4 programs at once. When you're in an application like Microsoft Word, you're looking at it in true scale, meaning an inch on the screen equals an inch in real life. It's a one-for-one match with a physical piece of paper. And while that may seem like a small detail, it can make a world of difference. SurfaceStudio is actually a great VTC solution. We have a 1080p front-facing camera, so anyone who needs to be put in their best light, who's communicating with people on a day-to-day basis, will want this device. The screen actually tilts to a -2-degree angle, giving you the perfect angle and clarity for all of that communication. Creative professionals are passionate about color. It's critical to what they do on a day-to-day basis. And SurfaceStudio has 13.5 million pixels. That's 63% more pixels than a 4K TV, with the highest color accuracy in its class. It uses a unique color profile called True Color. But because we know some people work in print and some people work in video, we allow you to quickly toggle back and forth between DCI P3 and sRGB color settings to check how your work is going to appear to others. Surface Dial is an entirely new interaction platform for working with applications on SurfaceStudio. Over time, we've learned and observed how people are using both hands to be productive in workflow. And Dial was born out of that idea to help people bring that level of productivity into digital formats. There are a series of global controls we've integrated with Windows, like zoom and volume, but Surface Dial has open APIs, so app developers have a suite of customization options available to them to bring new life into their UI and their interaction models. We've got several partners like Bluebeam, Drawboard, Sketchable, and StaffPad who've all innovated already on Surface Dial by integrating color palettes, tool selection, and navigation menus. It's just the beginning of what will be possible, and we're super excited to see what our partners come up with next.
And again, you can see here some of the applications and some of the solutions that we've got in the marketplace today. And you'll be able to just click to these links and see how the SurfaceStudio is being used by these ISVs across the world. Final point in terms of looking at this in the context of why Microsoft, why Surface, is to look at devices in the way that they inspire, the way that they can actually look at retaining talent. Talent retention is actually really important, not only in schools, but obviously in universities as well. And the work that we've done shows that people really love their device. And we really think that having the right environment to work in, whether you're a teacher or a faculty head, is really important. And the data points show that people who have Surface devices love them, and as a result of that, companies, organizations like universities and even schools can use that as a way of creating the environment for great work and helping to retain talent, because talent is always in demand, whether that's another school looking for a teacher, whether that's another faculty professor being looked at by another university. And in a competitive world, certainly in the university space, retaining talent's important, and we think Surface has got a role to play in that. So finally, I'm just going to go through some hints and tricks, if you like, and tips rather, in the context of Surface in education, and some qualification questions that you could look for in looking for projects in universities and schools. So first of all, schools. I think it's important to understand, is the school trying to transform? Are you talking to the head teacher? Are you talking to the vice principal of the academy? It's important to understand what their plans are. And if they are, what are they doing around cloud computing? Are they an existing Office 365 user? Because if they are, there's a higher propensity to buy Surface devices. Are they looking at it? How are they using their Office 365? Are they just using it for email, or are they actually using it for Skype? Are they using it for security, for manageability? Because the first thing is obviously to sell them on the benefits of the cloud technology. If they're an existing user, then ask them where they are on their journey. If they're using Skype for Business to connect with other schools, then again, that's a really good qualification question to be able to sell pen devices like Surface as they move forward. And talking of pen, then obviously a question to ask them is, are they using OneNote? OneNote is our digital canvas, if you like, workbooks. We have lots of add-on products specifically for schools, which I'll show you links for at the end of the presentation. But it's important to understand, are they using OneNote? And if they are, again, that means they're probably using digital inking. And if they're using digital inking, there's a higher propensity to buy Surface devices. And clearly, as I said earlier, many schools have both a tablet and a PC device. So by replacing it with one device, there's a higher return on investment than maybe keeping the old device with the tablet as well. In a university faculty, there's quite a lot more other kind of areas to look at. First of all, in terms of transformation, there's some questions here that you should be asking your universities to get an indication whether at university level or within the department that you're talking to. But that just tees it up, if you like, in the context of, are they looking to transform, and how you as our channel partners can help them transform. How are they using 365? 98% of UK universities are using 365. So here it's all about how they're using it. Are they using Skype for Business? Are they using SharePoint Online? Are they using Windows 10? All these are great qualification questions in order to sell them high-end digital devices like Surface. And again, OneNote's important here in the context of, are they using that as well? The final two, in terms of asking questions of your customers, is important in the context of their overall transformation plans. What are the expansion plans for the university? We see a lot of interest in new technology when the university is expanding, so new buildings going up. We see a lot of interest in new technology to really drive a transformation agenda with the new builds that are going on. And there's a lot of universities that we speak to who are using digital technology to link their various campuses together, and looking at things like distance learning and how technology like Skype for Business can be used for that as well. So hopefully that gives you an indicator in terms of some of the areas to look at, both from a school's point of view and from a university point of view, in order to help you sell more Surface devices. Here are some resources that I've put together for you. It incorporates a lot of the videos that I've shown as well as some corporate blog sites. And to that end, hopefully you can see here and take advantage, if you like, of a lot of these online assets. So in summary, hopefully you've seen we invest a lot in education. We've got a big focus in there. The key message with the devices is all about the integration of those devices into the existing infrastructure and cloud infrastructure of 365, and using the transformation framework to really drive the opportunity for Microsoft and Surface in your account. We clearly position the Surface device as the best experience for Office 365, and hopefully you've seen from the slides that mobility really does matter when it's education, as well as when you're selling to companies as well. So we believe certainly with Surface we've got uncompromising quality devices for that digital world. There's so many smartphones out there. We really need really smart devices as well. So a smartphone with a smart device like a Surface is the kind of environment we believe is right for education. So that's the end of this webinar. Hopefully it's been useful for you. Here are some Westcoast phone numbers and websites. We're doing this obviously in conjunction with Westcoast, and hopefully as a result of this you can sell more Surface devices, and I look forward to you doing that. Thank you very much.